A number of on-the-ground actions have been commissioned and are underway, and we're going to hear now briefly from three of them. The first is going to be Jonathan Paulin, who is the Chief Executive of the Alexandra Rose, which is a charity very close to my heart, and Jonathan's going to explain how this vegetable scheme helps people on extremely low incomes get better access to fruit and veg. Liz Robinson, who is the co-head of the Surrey Square Primary School, which has a lot of brilliant schemes about helping kids stay within the right weight. And Vicky Purawal from the Innovation Unit, who is working on how do we engage high streets. Can I welcome all three of them on stage? And Jonathan, will you kick off?
Yes, as Rosie said, I'm Jonathan Pauling from Alexandra Rose Charity. We're a very old charity, but we're doing something completely new. We're trying to help low-income families access a healthy diet via our Rose Voucher for Fresh Fruit and Veg project. Our overall goals as a charity are that all families should have access to a healthy, sustainable local food economy, and that families on low incomes in particular should have improved health and well-being thanks to healthier diets. So we think that our Rose Vouchers for Fruit and Veg project, we look at it as an assets-based approach to improving diets within local communities. We work with local children's centres to engage the families on the programme, and we also work with local street markets, independent retailers, community food projects, and a couple of farmers markets, but you can imagine that families on low incomes, when they have a choice of where they take their vouchers, they're probably going to get more value for money from a street market than they will from local farmers markets, although we do have two who are members of our scheme. Forgetting where to point the clicker. So we've been running the scheme since 2014. Since then, we've supported over 700 families across all of our projects. 95% of the families on the scheme report increased consumption of fruit and veg, which is what you would expect, considering we're giving them vouchers for fruit and veg. But also the sort of other great outcomes that we see, a decrease in takeaways and convenience food. 75% say they decrease their consumption of unhealthy food. They're cooking more meals from scratch, and 95% of them are reporting improved health and well-being via engagement with the scheme. The key thing for us, though, is the project is about our partnerships with local organisations. So key amongst those is our relationship with children's centres. They identify the families, low-income families, mainly people who are eligible for Healthy Start vouchers, but we also work with people with no recourse to public funds and some in work poverty as well. They provide that sort of wraparound support that's key, because just giving people fruit and veg isn't going to completely change their life course or their outcomes. There are other things going on for them. So key for us is the sort of cook and eat sessions that they run, weaning workshops, breastfeeding support, but then they can give wider advice around debt relief, domestic issues, parenting workshops. The children's centres love the programme because they see increased engagement from families. So they come in every week to pick up their vouchers. So that's a point of engagement that children's centre worker can have and signpost them on to all of the other services that they offer and operate. And time again in our evaluations, we get back this feeling of people are creating new friendships, and they're creating a better sense of community because they're coming down, they're coming to the children's centre regularly, but also their access to the market and the different type of shopping experience that a street market is to going to a supermarket. This is our local market. So this is Ridley Road Market in Hackney. We think the project's great. The market traders love it because they say that most of the families, most of the customers are new customers. So they haven't seen them before on the market. They quite often put their own hands into their pockets to top up their spending from vouchers with their own money. So the traders really love it. We're keeping money in the local economy, circulating in their local economy, which is good for overall sort of poverty alleviation within the local area. And we're getting more footfall into those local markets, so increases the vibrancy and maintains them as important points of access for healthy food in low-income areas where sometimes there's a lot of barriers to getting that. With the help of Big Lottery Fund and Esme Fairburn, in 2016 we expanded outside of London. We took the project to Barnsley. It's a fantastic project there. It's our biggest so far, 240 families in Barnsley, an amazing central marketplace. It's almost like you're in Barcelona, except there's no stand-up coffee bars for getting a good espresso, but it's an amazing indoor market if you're ever passing that way. We've also opened in Liverpool in 2017. To date, across the whole of the project, £115,000 of vouchers have gone into local communities. We're active in Hackney, Lambeth, Hammersmith and Fulham, Barnsley and Liverpool, and we're really excited to be opening in the spring here in Southwark with the support of Guy's and St Thomas's charity. As we grow and we look to sort of try and scale our impact, we realise the need to innovate to make the project work and make it translatable to new and diverse environments. So key to that innovation has been the development of our Rosie reimbursement app. So it's a mobile phone application that allows traders to reimburse their vouchers directly from their mobile phone on their stand or via a digital scanner at home if they want to save it until the end of the day. That means that traders get their money quickly, get it into their pockets, which market traders are a very cash-based economy. So that really helps them, but it also reduces the amount of administration burden that we have in the program. So it's been really key to our success in growing the scheme. And then, so you get places in the UK where you don't have good access to street markets. So what do you do? Because those are going to be some of the areas with the highest rates of diet-related ill health. In Liverpool, we've partnered with a community interest company who run the Big Apple van. So we basically take the fresh fruit and veg to those local communities so that they can use their vouchers in this location. And then the next scheme, I thought it was interesting what David said about the role that doctors could play. We're looking at doing a fruit and veg prescription scheme in Lambeth, working with GP surgeries, identifying families who could benefit from having more fruit and veg in their diets, and then getting that regular repeat prescription from the GP surgery. And yes, that's going to be our project in Southwark. That's East Street Market, fantastic market down here in the Faraday ward. If you've never visited it, I highly recommend it. It's very vibrant, very alive, fantastic range of fresh fruit and veg available down there. And that's me. I'm here today with my colleague Faith Holland, who's somewhere in the audience. So if you want to talk to us in the breaks, we'd be more than welcome to hear more.
Good morning. I'm very much hoping that Surrey Square Primary School is going to be the next partner organisation with Rose Alexandra. So we've just made that link. Well, good morning. It's a real pleasure to be here. The clicker, the dreaded clicker. Everyone's got anxiety about it now. So what can schools do? A little bit about Surrey Square Monopoly Board. This is always my way in. We're just off the Old Kent Road, which is, of course, the brown square that nobody wants. That sums up where we are. Whitechapel is worse, but there we go. So, tiny bit about the school. Henry knows all about it. I feel like we should say other healthy food entrepreneurs are available, other than we all love Jamie. Henry has visited Surrey Square, haven't you, Henry? And Jamie, we don't love you yet because you haven't been yet, but you're very welcome to come and visit us. We serve an area of very high social challenge on the Aylesbury estate. We talk about deprivation as a kind of one-word thing, and Surrey Square, I've been the head teacher there this is my 13th year, and we serve some of the most deprived people in this country. And notwithstanding the rightful focus on deprivation out of London, at the Aylesbury estate, for those of you who know and work and love it, know that we serve some families with huge complexity. And talking about families with no recourse to public funds, nearly 10% of our school population fall into that category. So kind of extreme complex deprivation. So this was in the paper. I think the author might be here today, actually, just a couple of weeks ago. Schools are not the only answer. And of course, that's right. And I have to say how exciting it is to be here and be involved with this project now. It's been a very large number of years since I felt so positive and optimistic about a joined-up approach to something to do with this issue. We were a flagship school, Rosie. We were a flagship school for life food school, and we've been committed to this agenda for many years. But in terms of the national agenda for schools, it is absolutely nowhere. When I first started as head teacher, the first Ofsted inspection I've now led 4 for the school. The framework was based on the 5 outcomes, every child matters, one of which was be healthy. So schools used to be accountable and be inspected on the extent to which they could demonstrate that they supported children being healthy. And it's pretty much nowhere now in the Ofsted framework. It's all about academic standards. Now, academic standards are really important, but they're not the only thing. So I guess what I wanted to say is that my experience as a head teacher is that the schools have got to take responsibility for actually defining their own vision and their own remit of what they want to be responsible and accountable for. So how we define that as Surrey Square is via our mission, which is personal and academic excellence, everyone, every day. So it's about personal excellence as well as academic excellence. We never would say academic achievement isn't important. It's really, really important, because if children can't read and write and do maths really well by the end of primary, their trajectory through secondary, particularly if they're from disadvantaged backgrounds, is appalling. So absolutely, we will never make excuses for children from disadvantaged backgrounds. Academic success is critical, but so is personal excellence, how we define that. And it's about everyone, every day. That's really important, because it's about parents, it's about us as adults modelling things, and every day it's about my plea to the education system more generally. That's about authenticity in what we do as schools, not putting on a show for Ofsted or anybody else. But I will save my Ofsted rant for another day. So that's our mission. So how do we define personal excellence? Well, at Surrey Square, we've defined that in the shape of our 7 values. And because we're a primary school and we start with children who are 2, we decided to make our values come alive as little characters. Have I done 7 yet? How many ticks have I done? No. So these are our core value characters. Why am I talking about that? Because this is about how we are trying to instill intrinsically in our children a sense of who they are as people and what it means to be a great human being. So, for example, let me introduce you to a very relevant one here is Rafa responsibility. So this is Rafa. Okay? And Rafa, you can't see the words hugely well there, takes responsibility for his choices, his words and his actions. Okay? So children are explicitly taught, and this is reinforced in all kinds of wonderful ways through these characters. I should have bought a puppet. We have puppets of them, of course, as well, who come to assembly. So that's really about us saying, as a school, we can do something about instilling inside out some sense of responsibility with our children, along with perseverance up here. So, little changes, keep at them, and you will get there in the end. So there's some really intrinsic messages that we as an institution can convey. So specifically about food, this is, Henry's been there, our beautiful dining pavilion. So when I first arrived at the school, classic school dinners on trays, packets opened and heated up in the oven, served in the school hall, PE then in the afternoon, you've got peas between your toes, when you're doing your gym class and all of that. It was not great, to put it mildly. So I commissioned some architects to do a visionary piece of work about how we could create a dining space that actually communicated the sense of food being important and food being something which should be celebrated and enjoyed within the school. And back in the old days when there was a bit of money around, this was a bit of NDC, New Deals Communities money, that we managed to commandeer to build our dining pavilion, which is Teletubby Hill. It's critical because it's about the quality of the dining experience, but it's also covered in grass because we didn't want to lose any play space because all the kids live in flats. So it encourages active play because the children can play on top of it. And it's very beautiful, and you're all welcome to come and visit it. And I've got 1 minute left. So a quick gallop through what we then actually do specifically. The profile importance of healthy food. We're a magic breakfast school. So we offer a free, nutritious breakfast to every family for free. So there's free childcare from 8 o'clock for every day. We have parents who come and volunteer and help to make the breakfast, and they're welcome to have a free breakfast as well. It's a really important part of our school food culture. The lunches, obviously critical. We manage them directly ourselves. Everything's cooked from scratch every day using organic meat. The physical environment, which you've seen, promotes a sense of food being valued and it being an important part of our school day. We have strict health packed lunch guidelines, and we offer we have free healthy snacks. So that again is given a very high profile within the school. Obviously, PE and physical activity is another really important strand. One thing that we do around that particularly is having play leaders at lunchtime, as in actual sports coaches. So there's a range of actual sports activities being taught every lunchtime, which all the children access. So as opposed to sort of passively hoping that some children will run around because they tend to, and then some kids tend to sort of not, there's a programme of actual explicit taught sports activities all the way through lunchtime and playtime. And parents and carers, I think, is the hardest nut to crack. Historically, we've done some really fantastic projects with getting parents in and doing cooking courses and trying to educate parents, but I think that is where schools, whatever their level of commitment, do run out of capacity and resource and indeed expertise about actually knowing how to create some of those shifts more widely. So thank you very much.
So Londoners responding to the Healthy London Partnership's Great Weight Debate survey said that too many cheap, unhealthy food and drink options, too many fast food shops were top factors, making it harder for their children to lead healthy lives in the capital. They wanted to see cheaper, healthier food and drink, support for families to cook healthier food, limits on the number of fast food shops, and less marketing and advertising of high-fat and sugary food. So it was in response to these findings that the Healthy High Street Challenge was created. It works with local businesses and communities on 3 London high streets in Lambeth, Southwark and Haringey to find and test ideas for making the high streets healthier for children and young people. If I list everyone, it takes half a minute, so those are all the partners. They're all brilliant to work with. So what are we doing? 3 things centred around our hyper-local challenge prize. Those things are some engagement work to gather insights, the challenge prize itself, and also working with the ideas to support them to test them out in practice. There are 2 reasons for using a challenge prize. We know that they can work well to galvanise people around an issue. We also have a hypothesis that for ideas to change the high street, they'll work best if they come from the experiences of local people and businesses, that they're informed by their real day-to-day lives and work. So we started off with a range of activities to understand the opportunities and issues in more detail. We did events, mini campaigns, visited businesses, talked with families at local markets, including East Street and on the High Street. And we found some really big challenges and also some really big opportunities. So just to highlight a few of the things that we found, going back to David's point about choices not always being conscious, often food choices aren't food choices, they're social choices. So people aren't choosing food because that's where they want to eat. This is particularly older young people. It's because that's where their friends go or there's a place to hang out. Affordability across the board is critical, and one of the challenges around that is that people have perceptions and sometimes experiences that tell them that, and this is for customers and businesses, that they think healthy food has to be more expensive. But we did see that there was some demand for healthy food. Sometimes people did explicitly say that they want healthier options. Other times, things that they say that told us that they were open to healthier options. So people talked about wanting more variety and more taste in children's menus, and that's particularly from parents with younger children. And people just generally want tasty, affordable food. They don't talk about whether it's healthy or not. They want taste, they want affordability. Business owners also do really want to be part of the solution. They were interested in creating healthier environments for the communities they work in, especially where they own just one business or all their businesses are based in one place. They want to feel like they're doing something for that community. But it's really important to acknowledge there are some real financial and even more so time pressures for those owners of those businesses. So the thing of choices being driven by our lifestyles and day-to-day pressures, that's true of the food businesses themselves as well. They have families, they have tight budgets, they're running businesses on a shoestring a lot of the time, and they're really, really busy. And they have lots of sessional staff coming in and going, and so it's kind of hard for them to make changes or develop any of the great ideas that they do have. So we ran this challenge prize, and that involved us asking local businesses, organisations and residents, it's nicer to look at the pictures than all those words, to come forward with ideas, and these are the words we used, that have the potential to make the biggest difference in increasing healthy and decreasing unhealthy eating for children and young people on the high street. We invited a handful of people in each area to come and talk through their ideas with our judges, and all the shortlisted ideas in each of the 3 locations came together and shared their ideas with each other and gave each other feedback as well, which was great because not only did we get to select who we were going to work with to test their ideas, but it gave a chance for people who share a commitment to changing food choices for their local community, a range of residents, organisations, businesses, to meet each other. And in some cases, they made some really practical connections that they're going to build on. And in others, you could just see them building a sense of vision and hope for their local area, which was great. So finally now, we're just starting to support some selected businesses and organisations and residents on the high streets to help them further develop and test their ideas. In Lambeth, we're working with a youth organisation called Oasis Play on a young volunteer-led campaign. Their idea is that they want to work with young volunteers and put them in touch with local food businesses. So together they develop affordable, healthy menus for children and young people. And then they also work to increase awareness among other young people of the healthier choices on the high street. And then in Haringey, we're working with a chicken shop called Tasters to build on work that they've already started doing to shift adults towards choosing healthier meal options. And now they want to do the same with a new healthier children's menu. They're not going to call it healthier, David. And Shahid, the owner, is really motivated to do it because he is a parent of 3 young children himself, and he encourages them to eat healthily, and he feels like I have a responsibility to start trying to do that in my shop as well. Of course, he's running a business, so he's making gradual changes. This is, he's got to be careful, but he is optimistic based on some success he's already had in shifting some of his adult customers, for example, to grilled chicken instead of fried chicken. And so that I think he's optimistic that offering healthier food and sustaining the business could go hand in hand. In Southwark, the judges wanted to support all 5 of the ideas that were presented because they have a lot of potential and they offer each different and complementary solutions. So we're working with Guys and St Thomas's charity to test out how we might support them as a cohort and to further develop and test their ideas together for their local community. I don't have time to talk about all of those, but they include healthy street food offers, cooking and sharing healthy food together with families, young people and others in the community, and some that offer support and advice for families and young people. So going back to our 2 hypotheses at the beginning, I'm nearly done. One was that challenger prizes could work well to galvanise people around an issue, and we've seen that with Healthy High Streets. It's brought different people together. Even if people haven't put forward ideas or the ideas aren't being supported, we've surfaced a sense of shared local hope and responsibility in relation to the issue. And hopefully perhaps future programmes will be able to tap into that. And then the other hypothesis was that ideas to change the high street environment work best if they come from the experiences of local people and businesses and they're informed by their lives and work. And the ideas that we've found do come from local people and businesses, and we are now just really excited to learn a bit more about the potential of those ideas as we work with them over the next couple of months.